Live. Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ. Bless all praises to the Most High that we made it another week to another Sabbath day. And obviously we do all things in the name of His Son, His Word, Jesus the Christ. All right. The reason why I'm coming at you like this with the whole, what would it be this way? The whole, see my laptop and all that kind of stuff, like as if it's Bible History 101, is because it's just me tonight, all right? Gad already told me he actually started a job that he's working second shift, so he physically can't make it here tonight, all right? So, but Lord's will, y'all still get the word regardless, all right? So, I do kind of want to stall a little bit, just because I don't necessarily want to break routine, even though that's good to do sometimes. You know, it's change is hard for people, so I want to give people a little bit of time to come in and out as people do. But yeah, we're going to get started. There's a few different topics that I want to touch on. You know, Friday nights we do like current events and things like that. So there's a couple different things that I want to talk about. And as you can see right here, we're at Reuters again. That's the website that I use for news. Usually it's either Reuters or Al Jazeera, possibly even RT. But yeah, as you can see here, we're going to be pulling a couple articles from Reuters. All right. Starting off with the Israel and Gaza updates, I don't really want to spend like a lot of time on Israel and Gaza just because we talk about that a lot, about how it's escalating towards World War III, and that's all Bible prophecy. All right. But we're going to get into this article just a little bit, and we'll play it by ear as far as how much of the article we want to read. All right. So let me just make sure that there are no technical difficulties, and we will start the show. Okay, all praises to the Most High. It looks like we are ready to go. All right. So we'll go ahead and start with this article right here. The title of this article is actually interesting when it says, renewed Gaza fighting stretches into second day after Israel-Hamas truce collapses. Now, this very same article, I looked at it a few hours earlier, or maybe even a couple hours earlier, and it had a different title. All right. The title of the article was something similar to what you see down here in summary, where it says Israel bombards areas of southern Gaza. That's what the title was. It was very explicit in how the state of Israel is the one leading the charge here. It's not Hamas who is striking heavily after this truce ended. It is the state of Israel. All right. Bombing all of South Gaza, all right? So, we'll get into this a little bit. As you can see, the latest developments in the summaries. Israel bombards areas of southern Gaza. Bombing complicates truce negotiations. Yeah, I can see why, right? It's pretty easy to see why. Because somebody's bombing the hell out of you, you're not going to want to make a deal with them, all right? Contrary to popular belief. And it says, renewed fighting. Apparently this article is from the future, because it's from December 2nd. But anyway, it says, renewed fighting in Gaza stretched into a second day on Saturday after talks to extend a week-old truce with Hamas collapsed, and mediators said Israeli bombardments were complicating attempts to again pause hostilities. All right, so they're saying that, hey, look, we can't get anything done down here with Israel and Hamas trying to find peace because the state of Israel does not want peace. They want war. All right? Eastern areas of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza came under intense bombardment as the truce deadline elapsed shortly after dawn on Friday, with columns of smoke rising into the sky, Reuters journalists in the city said. By Friday evening, Gaza health officials said Israeli airstrikes had killed 184 people, wounded at least 589 others, and hit more than 20 houses houses, right? So these aren't like base of operations that they're blowing up. These are civilian houses that the state of Israel is blowing up in southern Gaza, all right? Residents took to the road, belongings heaped up in carts, searching for shelter further west, right? Because the state of Israel, before they started bombing the northern part of Gaza, they told the people who lived there, they said, flee northern Gaza. Get out of northern Gaza because we're about to start bombing it, right? So even though they had nowhere to go, where they went was southern Gaza, all right? So now they're bombing southern Gaza, and the people are just trying to get out. But they can't, because not only the state of Israel, but also Hamas are keeping the people within Gaza. All right? A couple million people. All right? It says, the warring sides blame the other for the collapse of the truce by rejecting terms to extend the daily release of hostages held by militants in exchange for Palestinians held in Israeli jails, right? So neither side wanted to give up their leverage. That's why the truce broke down. All right? You have the state of Israel on this side saying, release the hostages, and Hamas over here on this side saying, we're not releasing any hostages until you release your hostages. And they're like, well, we're not going to do that. So then they just went back and forth, and now it's violent again. The United Nations said the fighting would worsen an extreme humanitarian emergency. So the extreme humanitarian emergency is not in the state of Israel, it's in Gaza. Hell on earth has returned to Gaza. That's heavy right there, all right? And they don't even know nothing about hell on earth, but guess what? They gon' find out. They gon' find out exactly what hell on earth is gonna be like, all right? Said Jens Lerke, spokesperson for the UN Humanitarian Office in Geneva, all right, Switzerland, right? All right, it says, today, in a matter of hours, scores were reportedly killed and injured, scores being 20s and 20s and 20s. And you could even, well, it said 184 people, so you couldn't say hundreds yet, right? But that is slowly rising. Or probably quickly rising, honestly. Families were told to evacuate again. Hopes were dashed, said UNAID Chief Martin Griffiths, adding that children, women, and men of Gaza had nowhere safe to go and very little to survive on, right? And notice that it mentioned the women and the children first because the state of Israel is bombing houses. So, like, if you got women and children who live in that house, where are they supposed to go? They're just going to be in the rubble now. All right? A pause that started on November 24th had been extended twice, and Israel had said it could continue as long as Hamas released 10 hostages each day. But after 7 days, during which women, children, and foreign hostages were freed, mediators failed to find a formula to release more, including Israeli soldiers and civilian men. Right? But if they release 10 hostages a day, as far as Hamas is concerned, they'll release all the hostages very soon because they don't have that many, right? Whereas the state of Israel has hundreds and hundreds of Palestinians jailed, right? And some of them possibly were committing crimes in Israel, but the majority were just, trying to live their lives. And the state of Israel kicked them out of their homes, and when the people try to return to the homes, they say, okay, now you're trespassing, we're going to throw you in jail. All right? Israel accused Hamas of refusing to release all the women it held. A Palestinian official said the breakdown occurred over female Israeli soldiers, right? So, the thing about female soldiers, there were never female soldiers in the Bible, all right? Female soldiers are a new thing in the earth. And the thing about female soldiers is if they don't have any men around, then they are far more likely to fall to the enemy, whichever side they're on, right? Hamas, you can guarantee Hamas does not have female soldiers because they know that. Well, whereas the state of Israel is, drinking their own Kool-Aid, essentially. That, the quality garbage, which is not true. But anyway, It says, Israel has sworn to annihilate Hamas after an October 7th rampage in which it says the militant group killed 1,200 people and took 240 hostage, right? So, if you're talking about 10 hostages a day being released, then 24 days. If there was a 24-day truce, then all the Israeli hostages would be released. But would all the Palestinian hostages that Israel holds be released? Not at all. But this 1,200 people that died, and it's not even saying it here, but a lot of those 1,200 were not even killed by Hamas. They were killed by Israeli helicopters who were shooting at Hamas, but they were just firing on everybody. They didn't care if they hit Israeli citizens. All right. The state of Israel does not care about their people as much as they would, try to proclaim that they do. What they really care about is taking more of that land over there and pushing all Palestinians, out of what they want. All right. It says Israeli assaults since have laid waste much of Gaza, which Hamas has ruled since 2007. Palestinian health authorities deemed reliable by the United Nations say more than 15,000 Gazans have been killed and thousands are missing, right? Whether it be missing within the rubble or missing because they were taken hostage by Israeli soldiers. So, we're not going to get into how Qatar is trying to be a mediator, but understand that Egypt and Qatar are both trying to intervene in peaceful manners and trying to mediate between the state of Israel and Hamas. All right, that's how any truce happened in the first place, was Egypt and Qatar getting involved. All right, so with that, let's get into some scriptures on that real quick. All right, I'm here in Psalms chapter 11. We're going to read starting with verse 5, and we're going to read verse 6 as well. The Lord trieth the righteous. All right, so if you want to be righteous, you have to go through trials and you have to overcome your temptations to make yourself perfect. All right, that's how that works. But the wicked and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. All right, so God hates people who love violence. All right, that's the state of Israel. That's America. All right, always in some wars. Those who love violence, God hates them. All right? But it also said the wicked, right? And when the Bible says the wicked, yes, it is talking about anybody who is wicked, who does wicked things. That's the truth. But it's also specific. All right? When the Bible says the wicked, especially in the Psalms, because you read the Psalms and you're like, oh, it's all speaking in generalities about, the righteous will prevail, but the wicked will die. And people read that and they think, oh, well, yeah, evil people gonna die, and the righteous will live forever, right? And that is true. But when the Bible says the wicked, it's speaking in code. All right, I got this here in Malachi 1 and verse 4. This will tell you who the wicked is. Whereas Edom saith, Edom means red. Right? That would be your rednecks. That's your so-called Europeans, your so-called white people. That's, the people who invented America, the people who founded America, the people who founded the state of Israel, right? All right? All descend from Edom. Okay? Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. All right? So Edom was impoverished during the Middle Ages. All right? A lot of what happened in Europe and Africa and the Middle East was, the Middle East was generally, and North Africa was Ishmael. After the year 600, that's when Ishmael started taking over a lot of the Middle East and Northern Africa. But up until that point, and even afterwards, you had Israelites that were in Africa, the Middle East, and Europe throughout the Middle Ages. And these Israelites forced the Edomites to flee into the Caucasus Mountains and in the Neander Valley of Germany. All right, that's where you get your cavemen from, is from Edom in the Neander Valley and in the Caucasus Mountains. All right. It said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. That's the Renaissance. All right. Renaissance means rebirth. That just all that means, The reason why they call it the Renaissance, the reason why they call it the rebirth, is because that was the rebirth of Edom in power. Before then, it was Israelites in Europe. All right? We will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. God said everything that Edom has built, since it was built upon the sword, it must be destroyed with the sword. All right? But I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness. Right? So the border is the first, the last, and everything around wickedness. All right? When it says they, that's everybody else who's not Edomites, call the Edomites the border of wickedness. All right? The Bible calls Esau the wicked. All right? And the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. All right? So when you read something in the Psalms where it says the wicked and him that loveth violence, God hates. So yes, this is saying God hates Edomites. That is what it's saying. And if you don't believe me when I say it, you can go back over here to Malachi and just jump up one verse in what we just read. Actually, I'm starting with verse 2. It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord, yet I love Jacob. So the Lord said he loved Jacob, verse 3, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. So God said he hates Esau. That was explicit right there. In the Psalms, it's written in code. All right? It said the Lord trieth the righteous, so he's going to make sure that his Israelites become perfect through the trials that we go through. But the wicked, meaning Edomites and every people who follow their example of wickedness, and him that loveth violence, like the state of Israel, his soul hateth. All right, so God hates people who stir up these wars and these conflicts. All right? God hates that thing. It says, upon the wicked he shall rain snares, which is a trap. He will capture them. Fire and brimstone, that's that hell on earth. The fire and brimstone raining from the sky. The nukes raining from the sky. The missiles raining from the sky. All right? That's the fire and brimstone that God has promised the wicked. And a horrible tempest, right? That's storms. Horrible storms. All right? That's why these hurricanes are picking up over the past few years. There had never been a hurricane over there in the West ever. This year was the first time that there was ever a hurricane out of the Pacific over there in California. All right? This shall be the portion of their cup. All right? That's the cup that they're going to have to drink. Is that judgment. God did not forget about judgment. He is a just God. All right? So everyone who does wickedness, they're going to have to pay for it. Everyone who loves violence, they're going to have to die. That's just judgment. That's the portion of their cup. All right? Let's jump back to chapter 10 real quick. Verse 16. Actually, I'll start with verse 15. Where it says, break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none. Right? So, David is praying to the Lord saying, break the arm of the wicked so that he cannot use his arms to do any more wickedness. All right? It says, seek out his wickedness till thou find none. They try to hide. They try to do secret covert operations. They try their black ops. God sees all of it. All right? He sees all the wickedness. David's saying, look, judge him for every bit of wickedness that he's ever done. Everything that he's done is secret. Find it out and judge him for it. All right? Just like the state of Israel likes to hide the information that they have nukes. They try to hide how many nukes they have, what type of nukes they have, but they have them. And God's going to make sure that all of them get used up, and not for the state of Israel's benefit. All right? The Lord is king forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of his land. The heathen are perished out of his land. All right, that's the what's the word I'm looking for? That is the end of the state of Israel. All right? Is they will perish out of his land. All right? And some of y'all have the nerve to say that God put them over there when they don't even serve Jesus Christ. They'll openly say that they're not Christian. And the dumb Christians here in America will align themselves with them. Even though they don't follow Christ, they openly admit that they do not follow Christ. But y'all saying, oh, we got to support the state of Israel. You the devil. All right? So, from there. It's the same thing where it says, the heathen are perished out of his land. Christ said the same thing, out of his own mouth. All right? In Luke 21. Luke 21, where do I want to start? Okay, yeah, I'll read the time. Yeah, I'll start with verse 20. In Luke 21, excuse me. In Luke 21, let's go ahead and get in this one. I'm over here looking out my physical Bible, and I'm trying. I know that y'all can't see that, but y'all can see this when I pull it up on the screen. All right, Luke 21. Starting with verse 20. Verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Alright? So Jerusalem was about, during Christ's time, and shortly after Christ ascended, right? So Christ would have ascended in like AD 33, right? In 70 AD, Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans. Alright? So Christ is prophesying about that, and he said, when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, the Roman armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Alright? The siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. I believe it was from 68 to 72, but 70 AD was the main year when everything went to hell. Alright? Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. When he says flee to the mountains, the closest mountains to Israel, or rather the closest mountains to Judea that aren't actually in Judea, is Mount Sinai and the mountains in Egypt, in East Africa. All right? So when he says, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, he's saying, all you Jews, run into Africa. All you Jews that follow me, run into Africa. The same way that my parents took me to Africa whenever I was a small child. Right? We have that history in Matthew 2. I'll pull that up real quick just so y'all know I ain't making nothing up. But y'all should have heard this before when Herod was trying to kill Christ and they fled into Egypt. Alright? This is Matthew 2 and verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Right? So when Christ was a young child, his parents fled the destruction of Herod when they run into Africa, to blend in, right? He's saying the same thing to his followers. He's saying, look, when you see Rome coming, do not stay here in Jerusalem. Do not try to fight them. Run into Africa to try to blend in with those Africans. All right? And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter there too. Enter there too. So he's saying, look, tell everybody else to leave as well whenever you see Rome coming, and don't let brothers and sisters come back for the feasts, because Rome is about to destroy Jerusalem. All right? For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. He's talking about Deuteronomy 28. And there's other chapters as well, like Leviticus 26, that talk about how the land would be destroyed. All right? Talk about how Jerusalem will be destroyed. And specifically in Deuteronomy 28, verses 52 through 58 are about a siege on a city, right? Specifically Jerusalem in this case, all right? But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people, right? It's really hard to run while a baby is sucking on your titty, right? I assume. I ain't never tried that, but I ain't expecting to try it anytime soon. I'm just saying. that it must be very difficult. That's what he's saying. He's saying, look, those women who can't run away from Rome, woe unto them. That's going to be rough. All right? And wrath upon his people. And this is what I wanted to get to. All right? That all things which are written may be fulfilled. Verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, right? The inhabitants of Jerusalem, and shall be led away captive into all nations, right? So not only did that happen under Rome, but that happened later whenever Esau returned to build the desolate places, right? As it said in Malachi, after the Renaissance. That also happened, right? Because you had, but immediately after the Renaissance, you had the transatlantic slave trade. That was not by accident, all right? That is what propelled the Renaissance, was the slave trade, all right? Whether it be over here in the West or whether it be taking the Jews from Africa to America, it's the same thing, right? And the captivity of the Northern Kingdom Israelites that were over here in the West and the captivity of the Southern Kingdom Israelites who were over in the East, it's the same thing. It just happened in different places, right? They shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So he said Jerusalem is going to be trodden down by the nations, right? You had Rome come in during the days of, not the days of Christ, as far as like, they didn't destroy Jerusalem until after Christ ascended, but many of his followers were still alive at that time, right? You had John the Revelator was definitely still alive at that time. He didn't write Revelation until I think 96 AD. But what was that? When he said Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. This is the same thing where in Psalm where it said the heathen are perished out of his land. That's the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled, when the heathen are perished out of the land. And I spent already way too much time on this because we've already talked about Israel and Gaza before, so I'm not trying to spend more time on that. Instead, I will, there's something here that I needed to see. Yeah, no comments or anything. This is another thing that I want to talk about right here. This man right here. Oh, buddy boy, your friend of mine, George Santos, expelled from the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, I don't even know, he said he was indicted as well. I don't even know if this is going to cover everything that George Santos has done, but George Santos is an Israelite. He's, I believe he's from the tribe of Asher. He's from Brazil. And what is this? I just want to make sure this is, yeah, I ain't, whatever. Anyway. But this guy, it's actually kind of funny about all the different lies that he's told about his life just to, gain favor with liberals and Republicans. He will lie about anything, all right? He'll say anything, he'll do anything just to get some kind of power, right? And normally in the U.S., that's not an issue if you're a white person and a politician, but since it's an Israelite, they can't let him get away with it. As Israelites, you can't do everything that all the other nations can do. You're different than them. They hate you more than they hate themselves. They're not going to let you get away with anything. Not only them, God ain't going to let you get away with everything the way that he lets the heathen run amok. Because he don't care about them. All right? But anyway, I'll start with this. It said, indicted Republican George Santos' brief career in the U.S. House of Representatives came to an end on Friday when fellow lawmakers voted to expel him over criminal corruption charges and accusations of misspending campaign money. Now, in the U.S., you have to be doing something very, very dumb to be indicted over criminal corruption and misspending campaign money. All right? They don't, here in the U.S., I don't know about overseas, but here in the U.S., they don't give a damn how you spend your campaign money. They don't care. They don't care where it comes from. They don't care how you spend it. what they really care about is if you're, what's the word I'm looking for? If you're in the clique, so to speak, if you're, if you're for them, then, that they'll look over some things for you. But if you're an Israelite, they don't like you. They just don't like you. All right. But anyway, the House voted 311 to 114 to immediately remove the controversial freshman lawmaker above the 2/3 majority required to oust one of its own. Right, so most people were like, get him out of here. But these 114 were like, no, they can stay here. That's probably Republicans, if I'm being honest. Besieged by revelations of lies about his past, a federal criminal indictment and a congressional ethics probe, Santos, 35, became only the 6th member to be expelled from the House. Ever. All right? The New York congressman was the first to be kicked out without having fought for the Confederacy or being convicted of a crime. So he was the Confederacy. Oh, man. Of the 6 people in the history of the U.S. that have been outed from Congress, probably half of them were, members of the Confederacy who fought against the U.S. George Santos ain't do that. He just lied. That's all he did. All George Santos did was lie about everything. All right? Oh, wow. Following the vote, there was scattered applause in the House chamber that said, woo, get this liar up out of here. Really what they're saying, oh, get this Mexican up out of here, even though he's not Mexican, he's Brazilian. As Santos walked out of the Capitol, surrounded by journalists, he said, you know what? As unofficially already no longer a member of Congress, I no longer have to answer a single question from you guys. So he's like, look, hey, my cover's blown. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? Y'all found it out. You got me. All right. He said, to hell with this place. Oh, man. It says, later on Friday, a Capitol worker could be seen changing the lock for Santos' former office, and the sign on the door bearing his name was taken down. A small bouquet of pink flowers had been placed on the floor outside, like he died. He didn't die. Oh, man, they just kicked him out of Congress for being a liar. Imagine that. They kicked you out of the House of Politicians for doing what every single politician does. That's crazy. All right? Let's get into his fabricated biography. That's the brother right there. And there's so many different lines. Let's see what we can get into. Mired in controversy. He has admitted fabricating much of his biography, and federal prosecutors accuse him of laundering campaign funds and defrauding donors. Santos has pleaded not guilty to those charges. That's probably another lie too. But people, like I said, politicians, they all do that. They all misuse their campaign funds. He didn't do anything that U.S. politicians, don't already do. He just played the game, and he's like, why are y'all kicking me out for playing the game? Because it's a different game for Israelites than it is for Edomites. All right. It said he survived the previous expulsion attempt in early November when 182 of his fellow Republicans and 31 Democrats voted against removing him on the grounds that his criminal case should be resolved first. See, now, isn't that double jeopardy? You have one. You already tried to remove this guy. It didn't work. They said, let's see how it plays out. And so now they're actually removing. They probably would have kept voting on this if they didn't reach the result they wanted. All right. It says, George Santos' lies were designed to defraud and deceive the voters in order for him to be elected. Unlike other public corruption cases, this Dan Goldman, a Democrat, and a former federal prosecutor told reporters shortly before the vote. As if other politicians don't defraud and deceive the voters in order to be elected. They all do that. All of them do that. What's different about George Santos is that he's not playing the Israelite game. He's playing the Edomite game. And he's an Israelite. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. Alright? Let's see. Okay. He also falsely claimed Jewish heritage and told voters his grandparents had fled the Nazis during World War II, because America loves the whole, hatred for the Nazis, and America was always against the Nazis. First of all, that's not how World War II happened at all. America was very pro-Nazi until they went to war with Japan. But anyway, they love the sob story of, we was fleeing the Holocaust and all that kind of stuff. So George Santos played that game. He said, they want to hear something about Jewish? I'm like 1/5 Jewish. Like, he would just come up with anything like this. Alright? It said a bipartisan I'm jumping back up now. It said a bipartisan congressional investigation last month found that Santos charged almost $4,000 for spa treatments, including Botox, to his congressional campaign account. He also spent more than $4,000 of campaign money at luxury retailer Hermes and made smaller purchases from OnlyFans, an online platform known for sexual content, according to the ethics committee, right? So, are we going to sit here and act like Matt Gaetz is not spending his money on OnlyFans? Are we not going to act like Mitch McConnell ain't doing the same thing? Are we going to act like Chuck Schumer ain't doing the same thing? They're all doing these same things. The hypocrisy is blatant whenever you read about something like this. All right? Let's see. So this is just saying the last expulsion was 20 years ago, and it was after somebody got arrested. All right? It says Santos' troubles began shortly after his November of 2022, election, when media outlets reported he had not actually attended New York University or worked at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, as he had claimed during his campaign. Right, so he's lying about the places he worked at, lying about where he went to school, lying about, his grandparents, all this stuff. Man, his grandparents probably lived in a favela. All right, I'm just being real with you. All right. Reports of the falsehoods. The key word here, falsehoods. Where that's going to come back. All right, so keep that in mind. Keep the word falsehoods in mind. Made Santos a pariah in the House and the butt of late-night TV comedians even before federal prosecutors charged him with an array of fraud and campaign finance crimes. Oh, man. So he's saying his campaign aides flaked on him, right? We got 23 charges against him. I'm honestly, we're probably never going to touch on this story again, even if he goes to jail. Hey, Brother George, repent, keep the commandments, man. Stop worrying about this whole, trying to be a congressman and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's get to the scriptures on this dude. All right, Isaiah 28. And verse, I think I'm going to start with 15. Let's see. Isaiah 28. Let's get to the scriptures. Isaiah 28. Let's see what I want. Isaiah. Come on now. Isaiah 28. Let's go verse 15. And notice how it says up here. It says, judgment on Ephraim. When it says Ephraim, it means all the northern kingdom. All the northern kingdom. All right, all the tribes. All right, so that's how this starts. That's where we're. That's the context of this chapter. All right. All right. So let's start with verse 15. It says, "Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement." All right. So that's showing you right there that death and hell are synonyms. Hell is not, the magma under the earth. That's not what hell is. Hell just means death. But also it means the shadow of death. And what I mean by the shadow of death, I mean captivity. All right? So, when it says we are in agreement with hell, let's see what that's talking about. Earlier in the book of Isaiah chapter 5, we're going to read verse 13 and 14. It says, therefore my people are gone into captivity. So the Israelites are in captivity. Captivity means slavery or bondage because they have no knowledge. All right, so we are here yet this day in our captivity, subject to payments here in America because we don't serve God. All right, and their honorable men are famished and their multitude dried up with thirst spiritually. All right, we don't have the water, which is the word. Verse 14. Therefore hell hath enlarged herself. All right. So when it says, therefore my people are going to captivity, it means the same thing as therefore hell hath enlarged herself. Hell is captivity. Captivity, slavery, bondage is hell. All right? And opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoices shall descend into it. So if you rejoice in the things of this world, you're going to hell. Captivity. But also hell means death, as we just read in Isaiah 28 and verse 15. So we'll get back to that now. So that's what hell means. It means death, and it means the shadow of death, which is slavery. All right? So, verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. So if you are a politician, you are either blatantly or subconsciously saying, I agree with the sin of America, I agree with the captivity of my people here in America. All right? Or obviously, the Edomite politicians, they're saying that we agree with the subjugation of the Israelites. All right? When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. People think that they're safe in America. You are not going to dwell here forever. All right? America will be destroyed. It's most likely in the next generation, in the next 20, 30 years. All right? It said, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. Right? Didn't it just say a whole bunch about falsehoods? Down here it says, reports of the falsehoods made Santos a pariah. So that's what George Santos did. He said, I'm going to lie my butt off, and I'm going to lie and lie and lie again and use falsehoods to protect myself. That's what he did. That's what the Bible is criticizing the Israelites for. All right? So that alone lets you know that George Santos, he's in the spirit of those wicked Israelites. All right? And he's being treated differently than Edomites in that position. So that lets you know that he's not one of them. All right? They knew that he wasn't one of them. So as soon as he started talking about that Jewish stuff, there's like, hold on, wait a minute. Because he's actually an Israelite. So he said, no, you can't be talking that Jewish stuff because you actually an Israelite. We don't like that. We like to call ourselves the Jews. You can't call yourself a Jew and still be in Congress. All right? And then the next line, therefore thus said the Lord God, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation of stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste. Right? So that's saying Christ is the solution. All right? Christ is the solution to this captivity, to this hell, to the death that we are subjected to here in America. All right? All the ways of America lead to death. Everything that America produces gives you cancer. All the food that America produces gives you cancer. All right? All right. So, I'll keep reading on this. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet. And the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies. Meaning those lies will not protect you when God calls for judgment. And the waters shall overflow the hiding place. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled. and your agreement with hell shall not stand. Why? Because the people you made an agreement with are going to die too. All right? That agreement is no more because the people who made the agreement are no more. All right? When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then ye shall be trodden down by it. God said, you're going to receive of the plagues that I send on the earth. All right? So, with that, I'm not going to spend too much time on Santos. I just think it's funny. Bruh's really experiencing the curses. He thought he was better than the curses, but you not, bro. You can't escape the curses. All right. So, the real thing that I wanted to get to was this right here. This right here. It says, maker of Wegovy and Ozempic showers money on U.S. obesity doctors. All right? This is what it says right here. It says, drug maker Novo Nordisk paid U.S. medical professionals at least $25.8 million over a decade in fees and expenses related to its weight loss drugs. A Reuters analysis found. It concentrated that money on an elite group of obesity specialists who advocate giving its powerful and expensive drugs to tens of millions of Americans, right? So these doctors are being paid off to give you these drugs, to suggest Ozempic and Wegovy. See, I never heard of Wegovy, but Ozempic, they got commercials all the time, all right? And in other countries, they don't have pharmaceutical drug commercials. Y'all know that, right? U.S. is one of the only countries that show commercials for pharmaceutical drugs. That's not a common thing around the world. That's exclusive to here in America. I think New Zealand, and like those are the only countries that actually allow that. It's illegal in other countries to advertise drugs, at least on television, but not in the U.S. In the U.S. they have I guess they either parodied or bought the rights to the song It's Magic, and they're like, oh, Ozempic, right? That's the commercials that they run every day, right? But anyway, let's get into it. It says, Dr. Lee Kaplan took the stage with an urgent message, telling fellow physicians they have a very powerful weapon to fight American obesity crisis, their prescription pads. All right? Counseling on diet and exercise alone has failed for decades, he told about 400 doctors taking his annual obesity course at a Boston area hotel. Right? So why does diet and exercise alone fail people with obesity? It's because they don't put forth the effort. Doctors do not stress enough, look, you're either going to eat yourself to death or you're going to eat right and exercise to get healthy. Those are your options. But no, of course the doctors don't do that. They say, pay us for liposuction, pay us for these drugs, pay us for, God knows what else, instead of suggesting, look, stop eating so much and exercise more. That's really the solution to any obesity problem is diet and exercise. All right? Kaplan, a leading U.S. obesity specialist, urged them to turn to a new generation of weight loss medicines, including Wegovy from Novo Nordisk, that can help tens of millions of overweight Americans. He said, look, why don't we just give them drugs? We got the prescription pads, why don't we just give them drugs? Meanwhile, he's been paid millions of dollars by these pharmaceutical companies to say these things. All right? Obesity, he said, should be treated as aggressively as other chronic diseases, such as high blood pressure or diabetes, with lifelong prescriptions. That's what these doctors, not all of them, some of them are trying to help, I'm sure, but a lot of these doctors are just there to get paid. They don't care about you. They care about their pockets. All right? And they're trying to write you these prescriptions so that you can always come back and get addicted to these prescriptions in a lot of cases. All right? These prescription drugs, that is. We are going to have to use these medications, he said in the June gathering. Why? Why do you have to use these medications? Why not diet and exercise? Because that doesn't pay them. If you diet and exercise, you're losing the weight on your own. What you need a doctor prescription pad for. But see, that's how they really get paid, is by promoting these prescription drugs, so that these pharmaceutical companies will, whether it be pay them directly or give their practice funding, right? Donate or whatever, For as long as the body, we're going to have to use these medications, he said at the gym gathering, for as long as the body wants to have obesity. And see, that's a weird way to phrase that as well, because the body does not want to have obesity. Your body will tell you when you're full, right? And it will tell you to stop eating, right? You'll get like, your stomach will start like hurting you, right? Your intestines will start hurting, right? You'll stay in the bathroom all the time. I'm trying to be nice about the words that I'm using. Your waist will be irregular. I'll put it like that because I'm not trying to be gross. Anyway, it says Kaplan's solution for America's weight problem closely tracks Novo Nordisk's financial ambitions for Wegovy. You see that right there? So even Reuters is telling you they're funding this Dr. Kaplan. Or rather, Novo Nordisk is funding Dr. Kaplan. The Danish drug maker, long known for diabetes medicines, is transforming itself into the world's biggest weight loss company. Novo tells investors its target market is the 764 million people with obesity across the globe. Right? So they're targeting these people with obesity so that they can, line their pockets with these obese people's money. Because the people who are obese, a lot of them have realized their mistake and they want to get better. Right? So they go to the doctor and they say, how do I lose this weight? And instead of the doctor telling them, look, you just got to start eating better and you got to start exercising more, they're telling them, oh, take Ozempic, take Wegovy, here you go. Go to the pharmacist and give him this and pay $50 for, I'm just using the number. But the point is, instead of giving the people what they need, they're giving them things to line their own pockets. All right? So, I don't necessarily want to get into all this because it's already about an hour in. I want to get to the scriptures. All right? So, from there, let's go to Sirach and the Apocrypha, which I think I did pulled up here. Let me pull that up. Sirach, and what do I want? I think it's 31. I might be tripping. Let's see. Sirach 31. Yes, 31 and 25. Sirach 31 and verse 25. Let's get this. Did I put me something wrong? I'm in 30. 30, that's what it is. That's what it is. I looked at the wrong chapter. Pardon me. This is Sirach, chapter 30 and verse 25. It says, a cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet. All right? A cheerful and good heart will have care of his meat and diet. Watch what you eat. Know what you eat. All right? From there, let's get this in Sirach. And we've gone through this several times, but Sirach 37 and what do I want? Verse 29. And we'll read down. It says, be not insatiable in any dainty thing, that's sweet things, nor too greedy upon meats. So God said, don't just eat because you feel like eating. Don't just eat all the time. All right? It says, for excess of meats brings sickness, and surfeiting will turn into choler, meaning hatred. All right? Surfeiting is like buffeting. All right? It's like going to banquets. It's like having dinner parties. So going to where there's always food will turn you into a hateful person. All right? If you're too greedy with your food, then that makes you become hateful. I know we've seen the people who, or at least heard of people, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but bear with me. I know we've all seen people where if you try to tell them, like, slow down or whatever, they're like, you don't tell me what to do, and just like stuff in their face, and they're going for more and more food. You're like, hey man, slow down, you're doing way too much. Nah, you don't tell me what to do. And like, some people are like that, all right? And it turns them into hateful people, all right? It said, excess of meats bring sickness. By surfeiting have many perished. So there are many people died from eating too much. All right? But he that taketh heed prolongeth his life. So if you want to live a long time, if you want to grow old, you will not become obese. You will take care of yourself. You will take care of your body. Your body is the temple of God. You're supposed to make sure you know what goes in and out of it. All right? So, from there, let's also get 1 Timothy, I believe it is. Let's see. I want to say 1 Timothy 4, but I don't think that's what it is. 1 Timothy might be 4 and 8. Yes, 1 Timothy 4 and 8. I knew that was sticking out in my mind for some reason, but I haven't read it in a while. So, 1 Timothy 4 and verse 8, it says, for bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come. Right? So, when people read this and they say, for bodily exercise profiteth little, you think, oh, I don't need bodily exercise. But what it's saying is bodily exercise profits you a little bit. It will. But don't focus on your outward appearance and leave your spirit unchanged. And leave your spirit lazy. Right? And leave your spirit slothful. Don't do that. Alright? It says, for bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come. So if you exercise godliness, then you will have the life that is now, and also the one that is to come. Alright? So, but also, I will say this. If you practice godliness, you won't have to worry about bodily exercise, because we just read the scripture that said you'll take care of your meat and diet. Alright? So from there, I want to get, I believe it's Proverbs 23. Let me make sure that's what I want. Proverbs 23. The 25 is good too. But 23, and which one do I want to start with? Oh man. So I'm going to start with Proverbs 23 and verse 2. Let's go Proverbs 23. I'm going to start with verse 2. We're going to get into the pharmaceutical companies pretty soon, but I want to get this on obesity. Proverbs 23, I'm going to start with verse 2. It says, and put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. So, if you're somebody who can't help himself when it comes to eating, Solomon said put a knife to your throat to stop you. But the point is, I'm not saying literally like slit your throat. That's pretty ridiculous. But he's saying do something to stop yourself from eating so much. Alright? It says, be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Alright? So be not desirous of another man's food. Alright? It's deceitful. Alright? Especially if somebody's inviting you somewhere and they got all this food laid out for you, there's probably an ulterior motive. Alright? All right. So, I'm going to jump down to verse 7. It says, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." So that's important on all levels. Your thoughts become your words, become your actions, right? So keep that in mind. As you think in your heart, so is he. If you got an obese person who thinks about, who thinks within themselves, "Oh, I ain't never gonna be able to lose this weight. I ain't never gonna be skinny again. I ain't never gonna be able to do this or that," then you won't. But I was seeing a video on a sister today who was, I believe she was an Escarite. I believe she was Mexican. But she weighed 1,000 pounds. She weighed 1,000 pounds. But she ended up losing 800 of those pounds. I think it was over 800. But now she's down to a regular sized sister, right? So you can do anything that you put your mind to. You can do anything through God. God said all things are possible, all right, with him. But as Paul said, focus on the godliness. The godliness will teach you how to lose that weight. And as we just went through in Sirach, and we're going through in Proverbs now, all right? It says, "As you think in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee." All right? So you can even equate that to these doctors who are saying, you don't have to watch what you eat, just take this drug. All right? His heart is not with you. His heart is in his pockets. All right? "The morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up, and lose thy sweet words." All right? So, I was looking for another scripture, but this one's also fine, where it says, "Shalt thou vomit up." God said it's not that big a deal to eat something and then vomit it up. I personally don't like vomiting, but God said, hey, that's an option. That is an option. All right? Now, I'm not telling anybody to become bulimic and make a habit out of that. I'm just saying, if you have to vomit, go vomit. There's nothing wrong with that. There was something in Proverbs 25 that I kind of looked over, but it was pretty interesting. Let's go to 25 real quick. Let's go to Proverbs 25. And this is more on like dainty, sweet things. All right. This is 25, or rather the book of Proverbs 25 and verse 16. Proverbs 25 and verse 16, it says, "Hast thou found honey," right, or sweet things in general, "eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomit it." You see that right there? So, don't overeat. All right, and if you do overeat, you can go vomit it up. But me personally, I don't like vomiting, so just don't overeat. All right. But that's exactly what obese people do. They eat because it's time to eat. They don't eat because they're hungry. So, from there, let's get this on these pharmaceutical companies, man, because they're the damn devil. The word pharmaceutical comes from the Greek word pharmakia, which means witchcraft. All right, that's what these pharmacists are really doing. They're cooking up pills and potions. All right, they're doing a bunch of witchcraft is what they're doing. So I got this here in Revelation 18. Because remember, it was Novo Nordisk or whatever was the name of that company, that parent company that makes. I don't think they made Ozempic. I think they make. What was the other one? Wegovy, something like that. I don't know. I'm not into the big pill thing, but in Revelation 18. What do I want in here? Here we go. Revelation 18 is about Babylon falling. It's about America being destroyed. All right? All right, so I'm going to get to the point. Okay, yeah. Actually, I'm going to start up at the top and then jump around. All right? It says, in Revelation 18, starting with 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right? So that's the destruction of America, is what that's talking about right there. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Right? So that's what we were just reading about Novo Nordisk. They were either I can't remember whether it said no, they said Danish, right? So it's a company in Denmark that is profiting off of obesity in America. That's one of the merchants of the earth waxing rich through the abundance of her delicacies. All right? Because obesity is not a problem in Africa. Obesity is not a problem in some of the impoverished countries of South America and Southeast Asia. It's not a problem. Why? Because they don't have the abundance of those delicacies. Whereas here in America, we do. So there are more people who get obese. All right? So I'm jumping down to verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Right? The hour of temptation, America will be destroyed within 1 hour. All right? It's not going to take a long time to happen. It's going to take 1 hour. One specific day that God has chosen. And we don't know what that day is, so we got to watch and pray. We got to stay vigilant, right? But, verse 11, it says, And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Right? So all the money that Novo Nordisk is making over here in America, that's all going to come to an end. All right? All the prescription pill companies that are making all their money here in America, all that's going to come to an end. All right? When America is destroyed. So we're going to go to the Old Testament, in the book of Isaiah again, but Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47 is talking about the same thing Revelation 18 is talking about. All right? Revelation 47. It said, Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. And when it says daughter of Babylon, let's just prove it real quick who the daughter of Babylon is, and you'll see how it all ties in together. All right? And I'm going to wrap it up soon. I know I've gone over an hour. In Psalms 137, you see who the daughter of Babylon is. All right? So let's read this here in verse 7 of Psalms 137. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. Remember we read about Edom earlier. All right? In the day of Jerusalem, who said, Erase it, even to the foundation thereof, meaning erase it. Get rid of Jerusalem is what they want to do. They want to destroy Jerusalem. Not necessarily the location, because they're in that location right now. What they wanted to do was get all the Israelites out of Jerusalem. All right? It's the same thing they're doing today, trying to part the land and pushing all the black and brown people out of the land to go into Gaza. Right? Verse 8. So it said, the children of Edom, right? O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Right? Happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. All right? So Edom is the daughter of Babylon, right? Because America isn't literally Babylon, and of course it's not even in the same land that Babylon was in. But spiritually, America is the successor to Babylon. As in, everyone sees it as this high and mighty thing, but God will bring it down. All right? So in Isaiah 47, starting with verse 1, it says, Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. All right? So God said, look, there is no throne. You don't have a kingdom anymore. Because obviously God he stands outside of time. So that's how he's able to prophesy all these things before they ever happen. God prophesied things that haven't come to pass yet in Genesis. All right? So God stands outside of time. To him, America does not exist anymore. Us, we're still in the middle of it. But to him, he's already in his kingdom. Because, again, he exists outside of time, and he had this plan from the beginning. All right? But anyway, there is no throne. America is destroyed. So it's talking about the same thing. But I'm going to jump down now. Yeah. Starting with verse... I'm going to start with verse 6. Because this whole chapter is very heavy. I didn't want to skip anything. But, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip 2 verse 6, where it says, I was wroth with my people, God said. He was angry with his people. I have polluted mine inheritance, right? God's inheritance is his people, the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, Isaac, and Abraham, and given them into thine hand. God said, look, I know I give my people over to the Americans. I know that I give my people to be in captivity to you. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Right? So you can talk about slavery days where, you died out in the cotton field, right? Or on the tobacco field or the sugarcane plantation or whatever. You can also bring it up to today. How many people do you know that are old still work in a factory because they don't have any pension? They don't have any retirement plans. Because when I was working in factories, I knew plenty of them. All right? And even I go to construction job sites, and you got old people out there too. America does not care how old you are. They're constantly trying to push back when you can start receiving Social Security. Right? It used to be 60. Then they bumped it back to 62. Then 64. Now it's 65. It'll probably be 70 by the time I get to that age. All right? At least. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Verse 7. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. See, that's what America thinks, that they're going to be here forever. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart. They said, no, God's never going to judge us for what we've done. Nobody sits here and thinks about America as far as receiving judgment from God. Hell, they teach you in the schools that God don't exist. All right? Neither didst remember the latter end of it. Okay. Thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. All right? You don't remember what judgment is like. All right? Because we saw judgment all the way thousands of years ago when the Lord delivered his people from Egypt. Right? We saw how God would destroy a nation to deliver his people. But America didn't remember that. America doesn't remember that. And when they do, Edom will cast himself as the Egyptians and as the Israelites. They say, oh, it was all white people. Which makes no sense. All right? But anyway. Therefore, hear now this. Thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly. If that doesn't describe America, I don't know what does. That says in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. Isn't that what America says? The world superpower. Can't nobody stand up to the American military. It says, I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Americans think they're safe over here because there was water on both sides of the country, right? And nobody flies in American airspaces, right? Nobody that's an enemy of America, I'll say. Nobody's military flies in American airspaces. But this is the pride of America. But these two things, meaning becoming a widow, meaning the loss of your husband, and the loss of children, meaning everybody dies. These two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. All right? So God has it calculated down to a specific moment, not even just the hour, a specific moment when all of America is destroyed. All right? In one day, the loss of children and widowhood. God said, I'm killing everybody. That's what it's going to be like when Christ returns. Judgment upon the earth. He ain't coming back to pass out chocolates and teddy bears. That's not what's happening. He's coming to bring judgment to the earth. All right? And the slain of the Lord shall be many, because there are many wicked and evil people in the world right now. All right? they shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Okay, so all that America does, whether it be like the media, the entertainment, the technology, the pharmaceuticals, it's all based in witchcraft. It's all based in enchantments. That's what they don't want to tell you. That technology, and now they have this AI, is another form of witchcraft and sorcery. They don't want to tell you that. Alright? But, I'm going to keep reading. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. But remember what we read, what David said. He said, Lord, seek out their wickedness till thou find none. Meaning God sees all of it. God sees all of it. He's going to judge them for all of it. That's why America has to be destroyed. All the evil that this place has done, it can't persist with the kingdom of God. It can't. It's impossible. Alright? None said, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. Right? Because it's worldly wisdom, it's worldly knowledge. It's not of God. Alright? And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me. Alright? Verse 11, therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it ariseth. So it's just going to happen out of nowhere. Alright? It's going to happen out of nowhere. Like a thief in the night is the destruction going to come. Alright? And mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Alright? Verse 12, stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. So from the beginning of America, it's always been about enchantments and sorceries. There was never a righteous America, and oh, we fell off now. It was always wicked. It was always based on genocide and slavery. It was always based on wickedness and enchantments. If you look at the map of D.C., look at the map of Washington, D.C., and you will see the pentagram. Hold on. Let me look that up real quick. Map of D.C. pentagram. Let's see if I can find it on Google real quick. The roads in Washington, D.C. form a pentagram. It even says it right there. All right. So here you see it. See, the pentagram is a Masonic symbol. And all the founding fathers of America were Masons. All right. You see how these roads line up. These aren't just drawings that they made on a map. These are roads that they've highlighted. All right. Right there in D.C. And it all comes to a head right there at the President's Park. All right. They built the city off the enchantments, off the sorceries. All right. It's the same thing they're doing with the pharmaceutical companies. All right. It's all pharmakia. It's all sorceries and witchcraft. All right. Alright, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, if so be, thou shalt be able to profit, if so be, thou mayest prevail. So God's saying, look, when I come to judge you, try to use those sorceries on me. See how that works. Try to use those enchantments on me. See if that works. Alright? Christ is not playing with y'all, man. It's time to repent. Keep the commandments. Alright? With that, I know I run a little bit long. It's alright though. Lord's will, y'all stayed attentive. Alright? But with that, hope y'all learned something. I say shalom, most high in Christ bless. All praises to the